The thing I've noticed about underestimated founders, aka underrepresented founders, aka Black, Brown, Latinx, women. Is it Latinx? Is that the right term now?
Latinx. So that we consider that Brown, Latinx, and LGBTQ as well. That's what we invest in as a mandate.
Yeah, and if you look at those groups, the valuations will be lower for higher performance.
Well, that might have been true a few years ago. And I understand what you're saying. I just want to be very clear.
I'm not saying it should be that way, but I think they are still underestimated.
The valuation itself might be back to almost
parity.
But here's the thing, it's not the valuation. It's where they are. Let me see, how do I put this? Because if you say that just directly, if somebody were to take that sentence out, they may say, okay, well, they're just not as good a company.
Right.
We're talking about amazing companies. We're talking about I want to give an example because I think it'll be helpful. Can I do that?
Yeah, unpack.
Okay. So I'll give an example, and I'll try to do it blindly because I can't say too much about it. But there is a company that is doing, it's a telecom company. And so they have satellites that they put together. The black male founder, and you may recognize this, but the black male founder 16 years ago developed a technology that lets these satellites go into space or lets objects go into space for longer because the technology cools the objects faster, right? And for longer. So he sold that to a major company 10 years later. And then a few years later started this current company that we're invested in 2017. And he uses the same technology that he built and invented 16 years ago, sold to a major company, uses that same technology now for the telecom company to send in satellites. The same, and I know you're friends with Elon Musk, and I think this founder drives a Tesla, so there's no, there's love there.
Yeah.
But the same 12,000 satellites that it takes Starlinks to put into orbit, 12,000 in this constellation, they can do for 12 satellites, 12, and have more coverage. So all of that is to say, and they're backed by 3 major funds. We were in before those funds.
Right.
And they're going to most likely be a 9-figure valuation next year.
And so given that, and you have that early relationship, when you go to them and say, hey, you got another round, I know you're oversubscribed, or, it's going to be tight. Can Backstage get an allocation? They're going to, for 250 or 500, they're like, well, you gave me 25 when I needed it.
100%.
You don't get boxed out of deals, which is exactly the experience I've had over the last 10 years, which is, if you're the first check-in or early check-in, the founder's always got real love for you and a special place. I just think, still to this day, I see companies with less performance get higher valuations or the same valuation than an underrepresented founder with more performance. And that, to me, a cynical way to look at it would be arbitrage. But, you can literally invest in 2 female companies for the price of a male company with the same performance. Just to be real, I can tell you, I objectively see that, not universally, but I see it often. And it's bizarre to me.
I would have to just argue, what I would argue there is, what you're saying is not wrong. It's not inaccurate.
Right.
But the way I would say it is because you have to understand 60%, 70% of your audience is going to hear that.
Yep.
And they automatically, just because of an unconscious bias, is going to think that means that those women have a worst case thing. So instead, we say those 2 women, their companies are properly priced. And the other people are being overvalued.
I like that. I like the framing.
Because that means that you're paying too much and you're throwing money away.
I like it. I like the framing. The thing also the great advantage you have now is, now that you've built this brand, I would suppose in year 5 of investing, you'll probably have a similar experience to what I had, which is, instead of chasing and looking for deals, going out and hunting, you've become a sorter of deals. People just email you all the best deals, and you're on the top of the list. If you're an underrepresented founder, well, of course you want Arlan's money. Of course you want that checkbox, because she knows the space and she's going to help validate what you're doing. So is your life chasing deals now, or sorting through them as they come in?
If I didn't want to, I would never have to go source a deal for the rest of my life. at this point.
Just crazy.
We have insane deal flow. And we have deal flow. We have people who pitch us who are white men who are doing well because they think they can convince us to like, change our minds for a second. No, our deal flow is out of this world. And it's quantity and quality, so it's, we do I think a lot of that is in the work that we do with the 98% that we don't invest in, because that builds up a certain character and a certain reputation. And it's a lot of work, especially when you're under resourced like we are, but it's so worth it in the long run.
Well, in a way, when you think about it, it makes sense. Although a lot of investors miss what you just said, which is your reputation is defined by the people you say no to more than the people you say yes to. The people you say yes to, of course, love you. You gave them money. You supported them. You validated them, and you went on the journey with them. The people you say no to, well, they're hurt, right? I didn't make the cut. But if you're kind to them and supportive of them, then they go out and say, you know what? It wasn't a fit for Arlan or Jason, but we did, they were particularly helpful in these ways.